Okay, we're going to talk about body defenses. So body defenses include non-specific defenses, which we talked about quite a bit at George Fox, so I'm not going to go into all of that. I just want to do a quick touch on a few highlights of that. So we talked about physical barriers. That includes hair, tears, and most importantly, skin, keeping stuff out of your body. So that's the first of the non-specific defenses. The second one that I want to talk about is phagocytes. So phagocytes are important. They're a class of cell that roams around your body and kills or lyses other cells that may be causing problems. So there's two classes of these. The first class is macrophages. So macrophages include neutrophils and eosinophils, right? And these together, they leave the bloodstream and attack pathogen, right? So, and we talked about these during the blood. We talked about these during the blood chapter, so I'm not going to go into great detail with those. The second class of macrophages, or the second class of phagocytes, is macrophages. So, macrophages, they destroy their targets by phagocytosis, or by release of toxins. So they can release toxins or do phagocytosis. The toxins are usually nitric acid or hydrogen peroxide. So these macrophages can exist in sort of two states. One, there are fixed macrophages. So they're fixed macrophages which they permanently reside in an organ. And this is sort of a lie-in-wait kind of situation. They wait for pathogens to arrive. Okay. The second class of these guys is free macrophages. So these free macrophages, they roam around the body and move to sites of infection. So this movement is kind of interesting. So the question is, it's just this little blob of a cell with a nucleus. How do they get to move to where the pathogen is? How do they know where the pathogen is? Right? Well, there's this movement, so So this phagocyte movement, this applies to both micro and macrophages. So both micro and macrophages do this. The first thing they do is chemotaxis. So that's chemo meaning chemical, and taxi comes from a word that means to move around. That's where the word taxi comes from. So in chemotaxis, cells are attracted to the infection site by chemicals called cytokines. And those cytokines, they're released by all kinds of cells that might be injured at the infection site, or white blood cells release cytokines to attract more white blood cells to the site. The other thing they do is they move around in the bloodstream, so they have to get out of the bloodstream to the site of infection, and that process is called emigration. Right. So in here, the phagocytes, in emigration, the phagocytes are floating around in the blood vessel. Right? There's a phagocyte, there's a blood vessel. And they attach to the wall and kind of squeeze their way out through a crack between two cells. So the phagocytes squeeze out into the tissue.